Arata Toma has lived a life defined by pain and forced servitude. Plagued by rotten luck, he was adopted into a truly abusive family. Treated like little more than a servant, the 11-year-old found his only refuge. He clung to the love of his older brother, Arata Toma. Rio was basically the only decent human being inside that miserable house. Arata was constantly on the receiving end of his adoptive mother's rage. She is the kind of villain that makes Cinderella's stepmother look like a saint. Rio acted as his shield, protecting him and fueling his biggest dream. He wanted to become a demon hunter so they could finally escape. Like a road trip, but with way more trauma and monsters. Then fate finally seemed to smile on Arata, like winning the lottery. He was chosen by a golden rank orb with a water attribute, an item of extreme rarity and absolutely immense power. But of course, his happiness lasted about as long as a cheap battery. His adoptive father, driven by pure greed and zero brain cells, acted. That man stole the artifact, looking for a quick payout. He sold it to the powerful Goto group for a massive fortune. A classic family betrayal, just without redemption and with way more rage. Seriously, I ask you, where is the side character who shows up to beat this guy up? 6 years later, a ruined Rio watches the rise of Takato Goto on TV. Takato is a famous hunter who is basically a total celebrity. He is using the very orb that rightfully belonged to Arata. Consumed by anger, Rio decides it is finally time to confront the imposter. The brothers head to the Deep Blue Guild headquarters expecting some justice. Instead, they get the premium betrayal package from Takato. He proves that celebrity charisma definitely does not equal actual character. He traps them inside a room with an active demonic rift. Talk about a death sentence, good luck surviving that. Tragedy strikes in one final, gut-wrenching act of heroism. Rio saves Arata, only to be struck by a mysterious black sphere. Now watch closely, this is where the nightmare really begins. Arata watches helplessly as his brother is consumed by a dark aura. Even on the verge of transformation, Rio tries to comfort him, before losing his humanity and turning into a grotesque demon. At that moment, Arata realizes the cold, hard truth. The real monsters are not just demons, but people like Goto. They destroy lives without a second thought. At the peak of his despair, in true main character fashion, a new black orb appears before him. This time, Arata does not hesitate. He claims it instantly. He receives the blessing of the demonic realm, gaining suit-based powers. He also gets access to a mysterious system that labels him an executor. Yes, he now has a full RPG interface and is essentially suffering. But there is no time for a tutorial while his brother flees. Something of him lingers. A new threat emerges, a hybrid beast. Born from the rift, wounded, cornered, seconds from becoming a statistic. Rata awakens, a surge of dark power erupts, turning his suit into blades. Deadly blades that instantly shred the creature to pieces. You ready for this? A true end-of-episode plot twist right here. The system announces his evolution to level 3, but his body just quits. Cool, I am done. He collapses, completely unconscious. Soon, Takato Goto returns to the scene, expecting easy results. Instead, he finds nothing but total destruction and traces of a power. Power he never imagined those weaklings could possess. And just like that, the whole game has changed. Arata isn't the victim anymore. He is the beginning of the problem. Unless the next scene shows Arata dreaming about his big bro. He jolts awake, still kind of out of it, remembering the chaos. He gets up to find his brother, but a nurse interrupts him. A beautiful, green-haired woman, she explains the situation. They found him passed out in the street, wounded by demons. Where am I? The boy asks. She says it is a medical center for executioners. Lost in thought, she advises him that a newbie should join a guild. Sorry, the boy says, getting up in a hurry. He has to go. She tells him to rest, but with the patience of an ant, Arata bolts. He walks to the door and overhears a conversation. A demon is loose. Near Goto's group, An unknown executor is chasing the creature. Around the rifts, Arata goes on high alert, thinking, if that is true, he has to act before even worrying about guilds. The nurse comes back, asking if he remembered to claim his reward. But she realizes the kid already ran off, moving basically like the Flash. Arata tears through the streets, deciding to search every single rift. Then, a loud alert echoes through the city. A rift just burst open. It is in the Asajiri area. When he gets there, he realizes something. The rift is bronze difficulty, and the association set up a protective barrier. My big bro might be in there. Can I even handle this? The kid wonders as he steps into the rift, crossing the portal. Arata finds himself standing in the middle of a desert. He immediately gets the mission to take down the boss. He figures the boss is the strongest, with other creatures nearby. Suddenly, a level 3 giant Volf appears right in front of him. Excited for his first real fight, Arata activates the skill Shadow Blade. To his surprise, it works, letting him block the creature's bite. The impact sends him flying back, and he's shocked by the monster's strength. Remembering his training, the boy charges in, absolutely determined. He lands a series of slashes that cut straight through the Volf. The system notifies him that he has leveled up to 5. But before he can even celebrate, the real trouble starts. A whole pack of beasts pops up around him, ready to kill. Arata can't believe his eyes. So many monsters in a low-level rift. No way out, he braces for a fight, scrambling for a plan. He thinks he can use that same skill against the giant rat. Then the wolves rush him. The kid freezes. He has no idea how to actually activate the damn thing. The beasts start tearing him apart. Suddenly, a massive fireball incinerates the pack. That skill. What in the world was that? A mysterious guy asks. Arata stares, trying to piece it together. Was that some unknown executor? You, the redhead shouts, raising his fists. He's itching for a fight. Arata recognizes him, Leo Kuji, a gold-ranked fire executor. He's a heavyweight from the Shine Guild, backed by silver-level teammates. One of the 5 emperors. The boy thinks demons are closing in, but they don't even notice. Annoyed, the young man just raises one hand and triggers his divine skill. Ragnarok, massive, hellish blast erupts into the air. Behind him, every monster roasts in a brutal, agonizing instant. Arata freezes, seeing power like that. Yeah, something is seriously off. The redhead walks closer. So, what skill is that? He asks. He points at the black sword. Only then does the kid realize his abilities don't match any of the 5 known attributes. Leo steps in even closer. He's curious why a kid like Arata is out here all alone. Feeling like he's caught in some bad mystery show, the kid decides to bail as fast as he can, watching him retreat. The redhead thinks about how an orb mirrors a person's true nature. That black sword, hold it right there. Kid, you're an irregular. Arata stutters, clearly nervous, claiming he's in a massive hurry. Leo clenches his fists. There's a standing order to capture you, he says. The kid blocks the incoming punch on pure instinct with his blade. What is this psycho doing? The main character thinks as his suit reacts to the fire, forcing Leo to stagger back. Handle the demons. Leo orders his subordinates. They look nervous. They know everything's about to turn into a pile of charcoal. The fire guy unleashes a barrage of flaming attacks, forcing Arata to dive for cover, surrender, or turn to ash. Kid, I have to find my brother. Arata thinks, dodging another wave. It vaporizes half the rock behind him. You can't hide from my flames. Kid, you're toast. Desperate, Arata opens his status window, hunting for something useful. The Red Ranger watches him waving his hands around. He mocks him for thinking he can fight back. It's pointless. He launches a hellish blast. Arata raises a black cloud, dispersing the heat. Ash doesn't burn twice. He yells at the executor, who replies that he's clearly not just some scared gray chicken after all. But this right here, this is the end for you, kid, he says. Powering up the fire in his fists, ready to deliver a crushing blow. My brother's waiting for me. I'm not giving up that easily, Arata answers, gripping his black blade. That line actually throws Leo off for just a second. Arata closes the distance in a flash. Leo stops him. What happened to your brother? They clash. The impact hits hard, caught totally off guard. Arata backs up. He turns to leave, but Leo calls out, if you want to protect someone, listen. You need to level up, no matter the cost, because the way you are right now, you are going to end up as nothing but ash. Arata feels that weight. He shoots a look of thanks at Leo and sprints off toward his brother. Moments later, Leo's squad returns, confirming the area is finally clear of demons. They ask where the kid went. Leo just grins, that brat, he is determined. They stare at him, determined. The kid almost ended up as literal barbecue. Orders come down, move out, time to take down the main boss. The scene cuts to Deep Blue Guild. Someone sighs at the blaring alarm. A new rift. The woman in the black dress asks Ichika if she can take it. She nods immediately. Duty calls back to Arata, lost in a massive crowd. He is hunting for demonic rifts. We know he got kicked from the last raid. Leo wrapped that one up too fast. Arata checks an official association notice. He mutters to himself, if there is a capture order, the guilds won't help. Suddenly, a piercing alarm rips through the streets. A massive dimensional breach. Citizens are ordered to evacuate. Wait for the elites, they say. Panic explodes everywhere, but Arata does the opposite. He runs toward the danger. He locks eyes with it. A bronze rank Kasimoto rift. His brother is inside. He charges, but a man blocks his path. This area is off limits, kid. Are you even an executor? The guy sneers, noticing no guild emblem. Just another pathetic freelancer who can't handle real monsters, he spits out. They have strict orders to keep everyone out until the VIP arrives. Arata protests, I don't care about your VIP. I need to get in there. Like I care. Get lost. The guy snarls, and his friend forms sharp ice spikes. They hurl them at Arata, who barely ducks. I am in a hurry. You too. But if that is how you want to play, fine. Arata draws his blade. Come on then, freak. The hunter taunts him, activating a thick mud trap. Arata sinks deeper into the muck. He hears the guy laugh. It is over. Stop right there. A sharp, clear voice cuts through the tension. It is Ichika. She appears out of nowhere, using water to blast the mud away. She frees Arata instantly. Why are you idiots fighting each other? She realizes they are just milking the rift for their own greedy pockets. The two thugs mock her. Just support from a guild. Big deal. The chubby one fires more ice, but she raises a water barrier. She reflects the attack, sighing, what a headache. Then she looks at Arata. Fight, I will handle the buffs. Arata hesitates for one heartbeat, then agrees. Let us go. She chants her enchantment. He feels the surge hit his veins. The change is immediate. He rushes forward with terrifying, blinding speed. The two idiots freeze. In the blink of an eye, he lands a clean strike. Arata hesitates for a second, caught off guard as she starts the buff. She just nods, let's go, she says, already weaving the enchantment. Feeling that sudden surge, the main character bolts forward at insane speed. The two idiots watching are stunned in a blink. He lands clean. Arata strikes with his dark blade, dropping them. Even he's surprised by his own speed. He checks his status screen. That stat boost is absolutely massive. Did you hurt them? Ichika asks, walking up. Arata explains what happened. He used the blunt side of the blade. They're from my guild, she sighs. The same guild as that blonde bastard. Arata thinks to himself. After helping each other out, the two finally introduce themselves. Ichika starts, asking what guild he belongs to, but then the duo bolts, claiming they have to report everything to Lord Goto immediately. Hearing that name, the main character feels his rage spike. The girl with the blue ribbon says she will report the incident to the association later, but first they need to clear that rift. She says backup is coming. but they can handle it alone for now. Since she has authorization from Master Leo, Arata realizes her buffs are seriously effective. He's actually getting hyped. For his first team mission, just stay close to me, okay? She adds, and Arata agrees. They sprint toward the rift as the system announces the Cassendo Rift conquest. It reveals a creepy, abandoned-looking cave. The girl explains that rifts are parallel dimensions. There is no way to predict what they will find inside. Telling Arata to stay alert, he focuses entirely on finding his brother. He is grateful for the Executor's help and determined to do his best. Cutting into his thoughts, a grotesque goblin leaps out in front of him. The main character scoffs. That one is basically tutorial level. Poor thing, no threat at all. He casually takes its head off, confident. He thinks he can handle this until a massive horde shows up, packed with random weapons. Is this a clearance sale or what? He mutters. The girl prepares an enchantment to boost his stats. Attack, she orders. Arata charges in, wiping out several goblins in one clean sweep. With me here, this is going to be a walk in the park, she says proudly. Arata thanks her for the bus and compliments her, which makes her even more smug. The kid, standing stiff as a bugged NPC, spots a shadow. Moving in, it attacks the girl from behind, but Arata moves instinctively. A barrier forms to protect her, and in the same heartbeat, the goblin gets taken out without mercy. Surprised by his own reflexes, he admires how she can make calls in a split second and trigger multiple skills, even as a support. He comments that he needs to level up to be as strong as her, which catches her interest. Then let's go, she says, pointing at the enemies. The main character freaks out when he sees how many there are, while Ichika gets excited and throws another buff on him, pushing him to take them all on. He rushes forward, wiping out the entire horde in seconds. Once victory is confirmed, the system says he hit level 10 and unlocked a new skill. Suddenly, an even bigger group of goblins appears, cutting off every escape route. Ichika notices the enemy count has basically doubled. Simple attacks just are not going to cut it anymore. Arata checks out his new technique, realized it's built for long range. Serious crowd control. He locks in. He pours his energy into a black weight that shreds those monsters, punching straight through them. That's insane, the girl whispers. Impressed by the damage, they decide to push deeper into the dark. But then, a massive presence hits them from the corridor ahead. The boss has to be that way, she says, moving with caution. At the path's end, they find an armed figure on a makeshift throne. The huge ogre wakes, spots the intruders, and lets out a deafening roar. Arata tries to keep his cool while the ogre mutters some weird, guttural sounds. Then, its spear fires. Lightning everywhere, flooding the entire cave in blinding white light. Ichika reacts instantly, stepping up to raise a water barrier. But the attack is brutal, shattering the shield, blasting her backward. She wonders, is this boss really just bronze rank? Without a second's pause, the ogre unleashes another electric barrage. She takes the lead, yelling for Arata to take the opening. He's worried sick about her, hesitating for a fraction of a second. Then he moves, circling the monster at the perfect moment. He triggers his long-range skill, destroying the spear and knocking it right out of the ogre's hand. Furious, the beast hurls the broken shaft straight at him. Arata panics as it pierces his chest. A fatal wound. Ichika rushes over, slamming her shield down, trying to heal him with recovery magic. The water eases the pain, but the boy growls, gritting his teeth to stay conscious. It's just emergency treatment, she warns as the massive ogre charges at full speed. They freak out as it clenches its fists, pounding the barrier again and again. We have to stop it, Ichika shouts, and Arata spots a gap in the monster's armor. Using the distraction from the non-stop blows, he decides to run. But the boss notices, trying to swat him away. As he closes in, our lead focuses a heavy strike straight onto the ogre's leg. tearing a chunk out, making it freeze, seeing the opening. He packs everything into his shadowy blade while she buffs his stats, yelling at him to go all out. Confident, Arata charges the giant with everything he has, leaping toward the ogre with all his strength. He brings the blade down on its head, ending the fight. Instantly, the system notification confirms the battle is over. He leveled up to 13. She runs over, congratulating our hero. They share an excited high five, then scramble to get out. Since the rift is starting to close, back in the city, Arata scans the mission results, bummed he still didn't find his brother. Exhaustion hits him hard and he collapses. Worried, the girl decides to take him with her, and he agrees without a fight. They arrive at the Deep Blue Guild building, Ichika. She hands him clean clothes, telling him to wait while she reports back. Time ticks by, and Arata, finally rid of that soot smell, decides to explore the place. Suddenly, a woman with green hair rushes past, trips, and faceplants right in front of him. He instinctively catches her. He apologizes, staring into those beautiful eyes as she steadies him, too. Embarrassed, he pulls himself together and bolts out of there. Only then does it hit him. That was likely the Deep Blue Guildmaster. The woman, totally confused, wonders who that boy was. Back in her office, she meets Ichika and thanks her for the hard work. Noticing something is off, the Guildmaster watches as the girl starts dumping info nonstop about the mission. Once she calms down, Ichika explains that the blonde guy was basically hogging the demon rift. The leader comments that something needs to be done about Goto. She also can't stop wondering about the mysterious boy she just met. The scene shifts to Arata walking through the city, thinking about what a total mess it was to crash into the Guildmaster. Suddenly, a huge fire erupts in the street. An executor throws up a barrier to protect a child. Moved. Our lead runs straight toward the inferno. A two-headed demon dog blasts flames at both of them, completely overwhelmed. The man realizes his shield is about to give out. Just as he accepts his end, a black cloud stuns the monster. A powerful strike hits the creature, radiating a sinister aura. The man panics, terrified by that kind of power controlling the suit. Arata summons his shadow blade and steps right between the demonic beast and the two people. The monster charges, but Arata doesn't move an inch. At the perfect moment, he lands a precise strike, slicing the creature in half, ending the fight. Far away, a man watches. At the headquarters of the Japan Executives Association, someone announces the start of the Council of the Five Heavens. They introduce the 5 golden executors, Jinisuke Dagami. From the Suwa Guild, Leo Rei Izaki. From Deep Blue, the mysterious Takuto Nagihara from Tsukyu. And the Shion Inamori from the Kaizen Guild. The big guy asks everyone about the rise in abnormal rifts. Leo claims low-level rifts are spitting out way too many monsters. Rei adds that bosses of higher rank than expected are appearing. The redhead says that will just make the executors stronger, while the young guy with earrings mocks his optimism, annoyed. The redhead yells, but the other guy stays totally unfazed, the green-haired. Guildmaster keeps the focus, asking how often these irregularities are happening. They explain a dimensional shift is happening, but the cause still totally unknown. The leader tells them to report any new leads, then pushes the meeting forward. He brings up a new, urgent topic. An irregular has been spotted out there. Someone has been slipping between rifts without any authorization at all. And the motive is a complete mystery. He never registered his arrival. The woman brings up our boy, pointing out his abilities seem way too strange. The femboy recognizes him immediately from his last big adventure. Rai figures that because his power set is so unique, the kid might think he doesn't even belong to a guild. Takuto cuts in, he could be working for the demons, and the room goes tense. Leo tries to calm everyone down, saying he met the kid and doesn't buy that. He says the guy seemed like someone with a lot of real passion. The young executor lets out a laugh, claiming it was just a joke. which infuriates Leo. Though, to be fair, it leaves Leo feeling more than a little suspicious. Dalgami shuts the talk down, saying capturing the kid is optional for now. There just isn't enough solid evidence to justify an arrest. Just keep a close eye on him, says the lady who had been silent until now. She stands up and starts to walk out. She claims she has something urgent to deal with, but then something catches her eye. A camera had been recording the entire meeting. That secret feed was being watched by the hunter, Goto. He is chilling in his office. Even the five heavens think this guy is a problem. Says the rich kid in his little monologue, if I capture this guy, my influence in the association is going to skyrocket overnight. Then he reviews what he knows. The boy had those weird soul-based abilities, and the other one probably turned into a demon corpse. If that is true, I know exactly where he is headed. Time to handle this annoying little issue, he says, heading out. The scene cuts to a crowd panicking as a massive new rift appears. Our main character runs toward the breach, but someone suddenly stops him in his tracks. When he recognizes the blonde guy, he shouts his name, furious. Figured you would be here, he says, mocking him for still being alive. Arata snaps back, telling him not to get in his way. Goto starts joking about the state of Arata's brother, now turned into some horrible creature. I am going to finish that filthy thing, he says, gathering raw power in his hand. Overflowing with rage, the boy roars, "Don't mess with me," and throws a massive strike. Goto watches that soul ability, confirming it is a brand new attribute. Then he slices the attack apart like it is absolutely nothing. Pissed at his own mistake, our main character charges in, gripping his blade. Way too slow, Goto taunts, striking a statue-like pose as he summons an ice dragon. Our hero blocks the attack, surprisingly calm, then decides to catch his breath on the sidewalk for a second. That little blonde guy laughs, clowning him for not using anything useful. Arata complains, deeply regretting that he did not grind his level up even more. Goto looks stunned. The boy is still standing there, suit shredded, blade dripping. Then the boy moves, kicking up a thick, swirling cloud to blind his enemy. Caught completely off guard, the hunter barely dodges a strike at the last second. He swings his ice blade, blasting the dust away while the main character leaps through the shadows, bringing down a thunderous slash that ripples the air. This is the end for you, he yells, while Goto declares his true ambition. I am taking control of Deep Blue and the association. I won't let you. Arata fires back, but the man forces him onto the defensive. You are just. Pray for my ice blade, kid, Goto sneers, and Arata only repeats the word mine, his eyes burning with pure, unbridled rage. A massive black aura erupts from him as he screams that was mine. This is your fault. He charges the executor, totally losing all control. Goto blocks the blows, sizing up how stubborn this newly awakened fighter really is. Stepping back, he grins. It is time to end this. He freezes the entire area, trapping Arata in a dome of ice, leaving the boy completely stunned. Arata watches ice spikes fly straight at him, slamming into his body all at once. He goes down cold. Goto walks slowly toward the fallen, broken body, finally getting ready to finish the job and kill the kid. But suddenly, a massive wave of energy slams into him from out of nowhere. Not far off, two hunters from Deep Blue emerge from the chaos. You are making a pretty big mess, Rei says, her voice cold and threatening. She asks Goto what he thinks he is doing, and he looks visibly surprised. She explains she has been following his trail for quite some time now. The blonde guy snorts, dismissively calling the boy an irregular, but Rei scolds him, asking if that is really how he handles his business. Meanwhile, Ichika rushes over to help the boy, and Rei takes a closer look, finally. Recognizing him from their earlier run-in, Ichika casts a healing spell over Arata, and he slowly starts to wake up, looking completely disoriented. He tries to figure out where he is and what happened. Ichika gets worried, hearing him mumble, and then, still shaken from the fight, he passes out again. The deep web guy asks if they are really going to protect him against the association. Ray shuts him down, saying she will take the boy and keep him under watch. Reporting everything directly back to the association herself. The hunter tries to argue, but Ray cuts him off, stating Ichika is going to help her clean up this mess. He taunts her, asking if she will keep that attitude when she faces a golden-ranked hunter. He steps closer, claiming the Goto financial group could help them grow, but Ray, clearly annoyed, warns him not to come any closer. He backs off and leaves, finally, saying she will regret this. Shaken, Ray tells Ichika to hurry and get the boy to the medical center right now. Inside, the boy suddenly wakes up, finding the girl sitting right next to him. She teases him for passing out again. What is this? Collecting face plants. You could make a whole album at this point, she says, and stands. She teases him for crashing. What? Are you trying to collect face plants? You could make an album at this point. She stands up, concerned. She hops up, saying she will go grab the master in a flash. Rushing through the medical center, she mutters about the master being so scatterbrained until she spots her totally lost in the hallway. Ichika starts dragging Ray along like she is a lawnmower while the master complains. She claims the signs are confusing, leaving Ichika stunned, asking how someone so strong gets lost so easily. But Ray just takes the heat. They duck into the boys' room and Ichika finally asks why he ran away that day and why he fought Goto. But Arata starts stammering. Before he can talk, Ray steps in, explaining that the association is labeling him as an irregular. She says if he registered, he would be safer and have support. So she asks if there is any real reason he won't register. Arata doesn't know what to say, and Ray tells him he will be kept under surveillance. Arata tries to find his voice again, but he is worried about putting his brother in danger. Seeing how hesitant he is, Ray suggests they move the conversation somewhere else. Arata looks confused while Ichika cheers, already knowing where they are headed. They cut to downtown for barbecue, totally blown away by the food. Arata thinks he managed to dodge the hard questions for now. Ichika tells him to just rest and eat. He gets almost suspiciously excited when he sees a juicy piece of meat, deciding to enjoy the moment. She says the guild is paying for everything, so he should go all in. Arata wonders if he really deserves that kind of hospitality, but he gives in and digs into all that deliciousness. Both of them are happy to see him in a better mood, and he can't hold back. He realizes this could have been his normal life if he had that water orb. Ray apologizes for earlier, saying he can ask anything. Ichika adds that he is super lucky the master is even allowing that. So the main character asks how guild members actually track down demon rifts. The master explains that predicting a rift is basically like predicting an earthquake. Magnetic disturbances and gravitational shifts help them spot where rifts might spawn, but it is only about 60% accurate. Arata says he gets it. When an alarm cuts them off, a high-priority rift alert goes off. A rift will open in Nagawa in 1 hour. Ray says there isn't much time. Clearly worried because it is a silver-level rift, she prepares to call for backup. But Arata interrupts, saying he wants to help, seeing how determined Arata is. The master decides they should both go and tells them to be careful. The boy stands up confidently, saying he will clear that rift with Ichika. The two head to where the rift should appear until they finally spot it. It was the Darsha Demon Rift, silver difficulty. Ichika says she hopes the kid is ready, and the two of them sprint straight toward the danger. They kick off the rift run the moment they are inside. They find a place full of ruins and wreckage. The boy is confused, seeing all that. But the girl explains that many places usually vanish after you beat the boss. Yet this one seems like an exception. He starts saying he doesn't see anyone around when Ichika quickly tells him to be quiet. Boom, a massive explosion rocks the ground and a giant sandworm erupts. It strikes at them, then instantly dives back beneath the surface. She warns him to stay sharp. There's probably more than one enemy hiding here. Arata realizes they are completely surrounded. He grins, stepping up. He slams his hand into the burning soot. Now he can feel every tiny vibration through the sand, tracking them. One spot vibrates harder than the rest. Before the creature even fully breaks the surface, Arata nails it instantly. Ichika is stunned by his speed, and he explains the trick. While stuck in the hospital, he finally learned to master his abilities. This suit is way more than just armor for a brawl. He can use it in a dozen different ways. She smiles with skills like that. Clearing this rift might actually happen. Using that strategy, the kid keeps up the pressure non-stop. The last monster falls, and he knows the boss is all that remains. As they move deeper, she warns him not to let his guard down. They reach a massive, temple-like structure, but the air shifts a heavy, crushing killing intent hits them. Suddenly, a colossal beast bursts out from the earth, ready to kill. They dodge the blow, and Arata asks if it is just another sandworm. Ichika corrects him in a heartbeat. That thing is way larger, and it packs a deadly stinger. Arata almost takes a hit from behind, but he scoffs, same trick won't work twice. He fires off a dark, razor-sharp slash, ripping the tail clean off. Hiding in the sand is useless now. His suit tracks the beast through the ground. She praises his quick thinking, amazed at how fast he's gotten strong. Arata thinks he is lucky to have her watching his back. But then, wait for it, he gets distracted. He misses the warning until a new threat rises right in their faces. It is the Rift boss, a massive, level 29 giant scorpion. Ichika yells out a warning. Even tailless, those claws are still insanely dangerous. She shields him from a crushing strike. The impact is heavy, but Arata sees his chance. He rushes the beast, and the boss raises its massive claw for a swipe. He barely dodges, then something glows bright beneath his feet. Water platforms, use them, Ichika shouts from below. Arata jumps high, using the boost to smash right into the creature's shell. The beast crashed down, finally defeated. Ichika rushes over, and they share a moment of victory. But then, the mood sours, the system notification never pops up. The boy wonders if this is one of those rifts that just won't close. A cold voice echoes from behind them. It says the boss was finished the moment it lost its tail. But it adds, with a twisted grin, that the fight was pretty fun. They freeze in horror. It is a demonic corpse, and it is talking to them. The demon mocks them in its tongue, asking if they liked its little puppet. Ichika panics, realizing a demon can manipulate monsters like mindless toys. The creature raises a hand, grinning that claws still work, even in pieces. The mangled monster jerks upright in a sickening way, charging straight at them. They react instantly, hitting it with a perfectly timed combo to finish it. The demon sounds annoyed that its puppet went down so fast. It decides they'll be its new playthings. Ichika just glares at it, disgusted. As the monster tears open a rift, it taunts them. He'll be waiting. If they have the guts to face it, they realize that demon controls the entire demon dimension. It has total command over this space. The rift looks different, but we have no choice, Ichika says, stepping through. Inside, they find themselves staring up at a dark, looming castle. It looks eerie, like something from the human world. Then a creature ambushes. It lunges, but Arata reacts purely on instinct. He blasts it with a barrage of soot, knocking the shock thing down. Suddenly, they see a massive horde of demons swarming toward them ahead. Surrounded, they trigger their skills, ready to clash with his dark blade. Arata keeps slashing non-stop while Ichika keeps him boosted with her buffs. There are too many. We have to get out of here, she yells. They bolt for the door with a wall of monsters hot on their heels. Once they enter, they find the demon corpse waiting there for them. It sounds bored, saying it was sick of waiting. They tense up as it claims it still has plenty of minions left. Ichika quickly fires back that if they beat him, the minions vanish. Licking its lips, the demon roars that it doesn't need to hold back. "Show me your despair," it taunts, but Ichika tells Arata to ignore it. Still, Arata asks why go through all that trouble turning corpses into underlings. The demon answers with cold, classy cruelty. "Controlling them is fun. Humans are just the same, made to be ruled. I will make you my toy," it sneers, raising hands to flaunt power. Ichika gets furious, but our main character says he wants to ask something. That makes the monster curious. He asks if it knows how to turn ... A demon corpse back into a human. Ichika looks completely shocked. The demon just laughs. It sounds like there is someone the boy desperately wants to bring back. Arata snaps, demanding an answer, as the demon gathers glowing red energy. It says it will only answer after they play a little energy flares. That power spreads through the room, and Arata realizes it is actually blood. The droplets start bouncing around the air at crazy, lethal speeds. He is forced to use his suit just to stay alive. He gets gashed in several places, and Ichika screams for him to be careful. Then an armored knight seizes the opening to launch an attack. Arata cannot react in time, but a barrier flickers, blocking the blow. Ichika shields him, but that spell takes ... almost everything she has left, even while she is already hurt. She insists she is fine. Just focus on the demon, she tells him. She volunteers to hold off the knights and Arata agrees, pushing forward. Through the enemy ranks he heads, straight for that pulsing demon corpse. The girl activates a skill to patch herself up, her mind racing. With this many enemies, she knows there is only one way out. She jumps, spins in midair, and unleashes a strike charged with water. Jets of water blast out in every direction. A whole wave of monsters drops at once. She notices them falling. But more are already clawing their way back up, looking determined. She says she can keep doing this as many times as it takes. Meanwhile, Arata closes in on the demon, who notices the soot swirling. Around him, it becomes clear. He is mixing that soot into the blood, hardening it, locking those droplets in place, preventing them from moving. Seeing this, the demon asks if Arata is on this side. Arata stops. The demon keeps going, saying a lot is happening outside. None of that matters in here. My blood or your soot, one winner. He lifts a cluster of blood droplets and hurls them spinning at insane speed. Arata focuses his soot, firing off a barrage that breaks the attack. The demon forms a blood sword, rushes forward, and leaps in. Arata sees the fast strike and blocks by controlling the soot around him. The creature looks genuinely surprised at how quickly he reacts. Arata keeps defending against those blood whips, the attacks escalating. Everything turns into a frantic, tangled mess of strikes and blocks. Arata realizes he is hitting his limit. The demon notices and gets annoyed. He says he needs more excitement. So he decides to go after the girl first. A blood whip slices past. Arata turns to warn her, but a deadly hit catches him in the back. Blood sprays out and he drops to the floor, completely off guard. The thing walks up, telling him he should have been paying more attention. Holding the blood whip, it sounds pleased the boy will be its minion. It goes in for the finishing blow, but suddenly Ichika appears. She raises her water shield, blocking the hit, focused on her skill. She manages to make the demon freeze for a split second. She shouts firmly, "If it is a fight you want, that is what you get." She starts healing Arata with a spell, hoping he will wake up soon. The demon taunts her, saying the boy is likely dead already. He says protecting her means she must be one lucky woman. Ichika feels sick, his words dragging up painful memories from her past. "It is okay," a voice had said while she cried, terrified by the sight. A boy was being held by a monster, telling his sister to run. Frozen in place, she watched the monster lift him into the air. She tries to speak, but the monster squeezes, ready to bite. The boy panics until his sister finally screams his name, Minato. Blood goes everywhere and the girl is left in pure shock. Ichika snaps back to the present, takes a breath, and refuses to run. She charges at her enemy, dead set on proving she's not that weak. Little girl from back then anymore, the demon watches her and laughs out with a blood whip, sneering that she be his next puppet. At the last second, she throws up a water shield and blocks it. Gru, totally fixated on his minions, laughs when he realizes it's just water. Then he starts hammering the shield with hit after hit, pushing the girl to her absolute limit until it finally shatters. So she starts controlling all the water around her, shouting, "That water is a flexible element," and mixes it into the blood whip. The creature is impressed by how clever she is, but says he can make way more blood than that. Ichika feels the panic rising right then. Arata wakes up and asks for her. She quickly hands him a sphere of water, telling him to mix it with his suit to make his attacks stronger. He starts doing it while the demon tries to stop them. Arata reacts fast, firing off a combo of strikes blending the two abilities. The attacks wrap completely around the blood whips and reach the monster. Trapping it, Ichika yells in excitement when she sees it actually working. Taking advantage of the opening, Arata rushes in and lands a heavy hit with his dark blade. When it connects, the monster spits out seasoned tomato sauce. He's weirdly hyped watching the two of them fight, combining their powers with his blood power. They stare him down. He says all he ever knew was how to dominate and exploit people, and that they didn't seem like that kind of person. In his memories, someone asks, "Where are you going, Goto?" He answers that it might be a bad time, but it's not his problem. A figure weaved in black flames challenges him, saying, "You're going to abandon your loyalty, that'll be your downfall." Goto hesitates for a moment but leaves the room, abandoning that powerful being. Back in the present, he admits that Guy really did predict his end. Arata steps closer with zero mercy and demands he answer the earlier question. Goto laughs, saying the deal was he'd answer if the kid won. Arata snaps, asking again. Then Goto says a way to turn a demon corpse back into a human doesn't exist. He bursts out, laughing, "Once you're changed, you never go back. Doesn't matter what you do." Arata is left completely stunned. The demon keeps laughing and mocking Arata until a system notification pops up, saying, "The boy evolved from level 15 to level 21. Ichika asks if he's okay since he's just standing there, totally frozen. Then she notices an item dropped, something rare that can give you a skill. She offers it to him, saying he should take it, but he gets pissed when he realizes the skill is the monster's minion control. He decides he's never becoming a zombie manager. The system explains. The skill lets you revive and control any dead living being, making them totally obedient to the user, and it also comes with upgrades. The system announces the rift is cleared as we see Arata and Ichika. Back in the city, the boy is completely spiraling over everything. He's hit rock bottom, even while she tries her best to lift his spirits. Sad, he says that even so, he's gotta save his brother, because for him, his brother was everything in his entire world, not knowing what to say. Ichika just wishes she could get an emotional buff right about now. Meanwhile, at the Deep Blue Guild building, Ray comes to a cold conclusion. If Arata's powers come from demon corpses, they should capture him and keep him under strict surveillance. Ichika jumps up, furious, insisting that Arata would never hurt a single soul. She knows that because she's fought right alongside him. Dead serious. She looks her master in the eye and makes a promise. If anything happens, I'll be the one to stop him myself. Ray watches the girl's reaction and says she understands, then tells Ichika to go home and rest while she checks with the association, leaving. The girl feeling pumped and ready to act. Far from there, Arata returns home. He comments that the place is filthy and completely abandoned. Thinking nobody's been here in ages, he looks at his empty room, feeling his brother's absence hit him even harder. Those demon words echo in his head. But Arata says he's not giving up. Then he notices something. a freezing breeze blowing from a demon rift open inside the house. He heads straight for it, stepping inside, hoping his brother might be there. The system announces the start of the conquest. Demon rift detected. Arata realizes he's in a cavern, buried deep in jagged ice crystals. The place feels strangely familiar and massive. He wanders through the tunnels for a long time, lost until he spots a pile of broken branches and roots all stacked up together. Following that, he realizes it was hiding a door. Thinking the boss is waiting inside, he draws his blade and rips the branches away, finally clearing the path. But when he steps inside, Arata freezes. His brother is there, fully turned into a demon. The system identifies him, Boss Adele. Level 38. Arata gets overwhelmed, finally finding him. He says he searched for him everywhere, never thinking he'd actually come back home. He takes a few steps toward his brother, but the creature just roars and lands a brutal hit, sending him flying. The kid tries to call out to him, but the beast rushes in fast, unleashing a flurry of attacks. Arata jumps at the creature, trying to reason with him, saying he's his little brother, but the monster grabs him and slams him into the ground again. Dazed, Arata has no idea what to do, until he remembers that one skill minion control. Back on his feet, he hesitates, wondering if he should actually use it. A mysterious figure watches from a distance as the beast winds up, smashing Arata into the ground one more time. Unable to fight back, he takes a brutal combo of hits, but thinks that compared to what his big brother's been through, this is nothing. The beast rears back, arm coiled to deliver a crushing blow. Then a sudden ice crystal slams into its chest, dropping it flat. A mocking voice rings out, sneering that the kid is still playing hunter. How pathetic! His hero has arrived. Arata turns to see him standing there. His beloved Prince Charming, Goto. Arata yells at him to stay out of it, but the blonde guy just laughs, asking if the kid really wants to protect a demonic corpse. Then Goto realizes the truth. That demon is the kid's own brother. Arata demands to know why he's here. The hunter answers coldly, it's an executor's job to purge these rifts. And since Arata is a dangerous irregular, he needs constant supervision. The creature starts to stir, dragging itself up as Arata draws his dark blade. Goto sneers that if he's protecting a demon, he's nothing but an accomplice, and he'll be taken down in the name of justice. Arata rushes in. The blonde blocks the strike with effortless ease. He even mocks him. Does the kid have nothing better to do? Our main character calmly replies that his brother is just having a rough patch. Goto forms another ice crystal, whipping it past Arata to hit the monster. The kid panics. The blonde taunts his distraction, winding up for a fresh attack. Arata whips around, stopping the blow with a clean, sharp strike. Goto starts parrying the kid's combo, telling him to stop playing the badass. He claims he'll freeze the demon and leave it in pieces for Arata. The kid steps back, furious. Arata snaps, my brother isn't a corpse. I don't care what you say, I don't care what anyone thinks. He's the only family I've got, and I'll protect him no matter the cost. He raises his blade, burning with raw determination as he screams. This time, I'm going to save him. A heavy blow lands on Goto. The sheer force of the impact genuinely shakes the hunter. Arata goes full main character mode, forcing the blonde back. Goto stumbles, muttering angrily that resisting must run in the family. Confused, the kid asks what he means. The blonde just grins. There were 2 other demonic corpses here, 2 pathetic losers. They only knew how to beg for money to keep their mouths shut. Of course, I took care of them properly. Arata freezes in place. Goto smirks, adding that the worst part was not even getting any experience points. Hearing that, an insane black aura explodes around the kid. The blonde raises a hand, warning it won't be like last time. He fires a barrage of ice beasts. Arata counters with a blast of soot. It slows the creatures down, clearing a path as he charges ahead. He lands strike after strike, shattering them until he misses one. Goto lifts a finger, commanding the last beast to tear Arata apart. Right then, his hulking brother steps in and smashes the ice beast. Arata tries to call out, but the monster slams into the blonde. He hits the ground hard. Arata is only worried about Ryo. Goto gets up, cursing the beast as he readies his next move. She checks on Ryo while Goto gets up, cursing that beast. He questions if a demonic corpse can actually shield a human, but he brushes it off. He'll just wipe them both out at once. Arata scrambles for a way to stop Goto, recalling he can cycle suit states. Just like Ichika's combos, he slams his hand hard against the ground. He preps the skill while the blonde complains, sick of the lingering smoke. Suddenly, mud mode triggers, locking Goto right in his tracks. Arata seizes the opening, but the blonde breaks free and barely dodges. He lands near Ryo, who nails him with a direct hit to the head. Arata grins, convinced his brother finally managed to finish the fight. But as he moves closer, he sees the creature spit out blood. The kid panics when he notices deep wounds all over his brother. Shocked, he watches in horror as Ryo's body slowly crumbles to ashes. Then the scene shifts. Goto is standing exactly where Ryo was. It was a trap. The system announces the rift is complete and about to seal shut. Arata drops to his knees, paralyzed by pure, unadulterated disbelief. The Golden Captain recalls telling the kid not to get cocky. Then, in a chillingly low voice, he vows to kill him. Arata stands, repeating the words over and over, tears streaming down. His eyes bleed red with raw, unfiltered rage. He screams, charging forward with a shadowy blade. Goto watches, intrigued. He wonders if that's some new ability, but simply raises his ice sword. Trash is still trash, he mocks, and they slam together with force. An enormous shockwave echoes out, and Goto can't believe he's standing. Arata radiates an overwhelming black aura, driving his sword forward again. He hits Goto with a massive blast, sending him flying through the wall. The blonde is completely blindsided, watching the kid approach with a crazed stare. Arata growls that no matter how many times he kills him, it's not enough. For the first time, the blonde feels a flicker of real fear. He's stunned by the crushing weight of the killing intent surrounding Arata. He staggers up, channeling his ice skill like it's his final breath. Then he freezes, spotting several black weapons aimed directly at his heart. The kid fires them all at once, slamming Goto into the dirt. Arata stalks forward, his aura completely unhinged. Is it already over? Goto realizes he's dealing with a weak battery running on pure spite. He thinks he needs to get the hell out of there fast. Arata senses it, unleashing a violet shockwave in every single direction. Chunks of rock crash down as he yells, consumed by total madness. Just die, he roars, launching a desperate, straight-up attack at him. A water shield flickers to life, protecting Goto at the very last second. Ichika screams out for Arata, desperate to get through to him. She watches in terror as the strike intensifies, shattering her water shield. It slams into her, throwing her down to the hard ground. Terrified, she stands and begs him to snap out of this nightmare. Arata hesitates for a split second, still drowning in his own insanity. Our legendary hero notes the association is likely already on the move. He blames them for the irregular losing control and adds a chilling thought. This spells the end for the girl too. Ichika knows she must act fast. Arata, completely gone, unleashes a massive wave of black energy that explodes outward. It shreds nearby buildings like paper. Ray watches from the surveillance room. She mutters that she went too easy on them before rushing out. Elsewhere in the CQ Guild, someone is busy on the phone. They say the situation is dire. The association has clearly failed. Our femboy grins, saying it is finally time to enjoy the show. Back on the field, Arata winds up another super black strike. Shockwaves rip through the air. One heads straight for Ichika. She stares it down, drained of all strength, until blue energy halts the blast. Ichika smiles in pure relief. Her master has finally arrived. She apologizes as she collapses, whispering that she lost control of everything. Ray catches her, insisting it is no one's fault but her own. She looks at Arata, now unrecognizable, and feels a wave of pure dread. The boy seems completely lost. She decides she has to step in. But a flash of green light cuts her off. Takuto appears. He says the irregular is finally showing his true, ugly nature. Rei fires back that her guild will take responsibility and save him. Takuto just says the association sees things very differently. He raises his hand, power crackling. Rei is visibly shaken by the threat. Takuto sighs again, asking why everyone is so obsessed with Arata. She stands her ground, insisting it is her guild's duty. She tells him to be careful. Arata rushes at them both. Our femboy just smiles as the blade whistles right past his neck. Then he vanishes, leaving nothing but green energy shimmering in the air. Rei spots cherry blossom petals scattering as a blur strikes. Someone appears behind Arata, landing a wind strike square in his chest. She is stunned that Takuto stopped Arata in a single move. Rei cries out that the boy could die, and she refuses to allow it. Takuto mocks her for being too attached, but promises he won't kill him. He only restrained the kid. He watches Arata struggle. He notes it would be a total waste to lose someone so interesting. Arata hauls himself up, summoning shadow weapons and hurling them at Takuto. Takuto is fascinated, concluding the kid is using demonic corpse power. The weapons shatter the second they touch his green aura. Takuto comments that Arata's technique is still incredibly raw. He warns Rei that if this continues, the entire area is toast. He says he is dragging Arata to the association right now. Rei protests, desperate to know what they will do to him. Takuto just brushes it off. That is up to the association. Rei watches as he focuses that green energy and flings it at Arata. It wraps him into massive wings. She screams, demanding answers. But Arata just slumps, finally unconscious, the rage stripped away. He calmly explains he just put the kid in sleep mode, then says his goodbyes. He tells her see you later and vanishes. The ravens say Takuto is always so laid back and impossible to read. Ichika calls for her master, who walks over and says the civilian evacuation is finished, extremely relieved. The woman says the worst has been avoided until Ichika asks where Arata is. And the master chooses to stay silent. Arata wakes up somewhere dark, in handcuffs. He tries to understand what is going on and remember the last thing that happened. A figure appears in front of him, holding something that looks like a whip with a creepy smile. The person says they are sorry to have kept him waiting. Among the wreckage from the battle, a hand pops up, trying to crawl out. It is Goto. Struggling to get back on his feet, he cannot accept being humiliated by Arata. With hate in his eyes, he swears he will surpass the 5 heavens. And he laughs, imagining Arata must be getting punished. Right this second, at the headquarters of the Japan Hunters Association, the big guy asks everyone for their attention. He apologizes for interrupting, but says he needs to announce something. As the association director, hands clasped, he gets straight to it. The irregular has been captured. Leo immediately objects, saying Arata is not a bad person and locking him up without proof is unfair. Rue asks where the kid is and what they did to him. The director explains the child was detained for going out of control, causing massive damage in urban areas and breaking the assocations. Rules. Leo is shocked hearing that. The director says Arata showed powers similar to the demonic corpses, and that made a lot of hunters argue he should be eliminated. B and Leo protest, saying that is way too extreme. The director concludes that the irregular's identity will be investigated. Along with his connection to the demonic corpses, Shun feels bad for the kid, saying that officer has to be involved. The director wraps up by warning that demonic corpse activity might increase, and everyone needs to stay on full alert. Rie is shaken and decides she has to act immediately. In the assocation's underground first-class prison, Arata is cuffed while the officer interrogates him. The man warns he will keep going even if Arata passes out. He just needs to know what his relationship is with the demonic corpses. Arata snorts, saying he does not know anything. Not satisfied, the officer raises the whip, but someone stops him. Rue walks in, introduces herself as the leader of Deep Blue, and orders the interrogation to stop. In a casual tone, the officer asks what she is doing there and whether she has permission. Rue says she does, and the guy gets suspicious. She asks to speak to the kid alone, and he warns her not to break any rules. Rue steps up to Arata and says he looks a lot more tame now. She asks if he remembers losing control, and he looks confused. Rue explains he tried to kill both Goto and Ichika. Arata gets worried, but she quickly reassures him that Arata looks totally drained. He says it's natural Ichika is getting punished. He's got nothing left to lose. Nothing matters to him anymore. Rai tries to warn him, keep acting like that. The interrogation continues. Suddenly, a notification hits. Emergency alert. Hunters vanished inside a rift. And Ichika, she was sent straight into that mission. Rai gets furious. That girl is just way too reckless for her own good. The scene shifts. Ichika is stepping right into that demonic rift. Worried, Arata asks what happened to his friend. Rai just says there's an emergency and she needs to talk to the director. Arata tries to speak, but she cuts him off. He can't change the past. But there is still something he can do, as long as he's a hunter. Arata mutters there's nothing left for him to do now. Then, in a sudden move, Rai freezes him. She's trusting her gut. Arata just stands there, totally unresponsive. When the guard gets back to the cell, he's furious. He says she claimed to have permission, but that was a lie. Even as a guild master, he declares she's getting no mercy. He raises his whip, explaining this place messes with everyone's abilities, except for his own weapon. Then he charges right at them. Rai stops him cold with one solid kick to the chest. He goes down, gasping for air. She tells him congrats on the effort. Next time, she says, maybe she actually get permission. She checks the status of available hunters. Nobody is left. Rai looks at Arata, obsessing over the past won't fix a thing. The only thing that matters is the choice he makes right now. Arata thinks it over. He lost who he loved, but he found friends. Determined, he says he won't let anyone else be lost. Rai smiles proud and promises they'll all have a barbecue again someday. Arata takes off running through the prison on his own. He runs into guards in the hallway yelling that the prisoner escaped. He freezes, clueless, until he feels a tap on his shoulder. Leo shows up, says he made it just in time. Leo asks what Arata is planning to do. The kid hesitates, and Leo adds, it's because of your brother, right? Arata says no, right now. He just needs to save his friend. As long as he can do that, he doesn't care what happens to him. Impressed, Leo calls him a man of real principles. He tells the other hunters he'll keep an eye on the irregular personally. Just tell the director, he says, and get out of there. The fireboy tells Arata they need to move. Arata is deeply grateful. The two come sprinting through the city as the scene cuts to Ichika. She's getting swarmed by two enemies while Arata and Leo reach the rift. Leo notes the kid said a friend was in danger. Arata explains that several silver rank hunters have completely disappeared. Leo thinks it's strange, since this rift should be the same level. They step inside. The system rings out, marking the start of the conquest. A massive, dense forest swallows them whole. Leo takes a quick look around. He points out the silence. No monsters in sight. Too quiet. The real problem is the boss. Arata fires up his skill to track it down. Leo catches the kid using his new ability. Then something shifts nearby. A creature lunges from the bushes. Leo raises his fist, burning bright. One flaming strike, and it's done. Another monster pops up, flanking them. Arata grumbles about them getting in the way, then slices it clean in half. Leo notes the kid's grown way stronger. Arata, still in Wi-Fi mode, senses something off. Then, a girl appears right in front of them. She's covered in wounds, begging for help. Arata's relieved to see her alive. He asks what happened. She tries to explain the hunters. They were transformed. But before she can finish, a demon bites her from behind. She screams in pure agony. Right there, she starts to turn. An intense green aura explodes off her body. They realize what it is, a demonic corpse, infection type. The creature charges straight at them. Arata freezes. That girl, she reminds him too much of his own brother. Memory flashes lock him in place. He's in shock, completely shut down. Leo calls out, asking what he's doing, but Arata just hesitates. He takes a heavy hit. Leo checks on him, asking if he's all right. Arata panics. He can't bring himself to kill a person. Leo's tone turns deadly serious. Two more demonic corpses are closing in. He tells Arata the truth. Those aren't people anymore. He unleashes his flames. They're roasted instantly. Arata's shaking, still reeling from what he just saw. Leo stays calm, explaining they likely died the moment they met the boss. Arata struggles with that, forcing Leo to keep going. They probably became like this trying to save the others. Arata finally gets it. He understands now. He raises his own flames. Our fire boy says he's done. He won't let a single one of these infected creatures get away. The damage could be irreversible. Then he notices it. A bright green aura pulsing from deep inside a tree. On edge, they watch some bizarre creature crawl out of it. Suddenly, Arata hears movement behind him. He turns, and his heart drops. Ichika is right there, badly hurt. He calls out to her, but she just screams as a purple aura consumes her. Arata rushes over, but Ichika collapses. She tells him it's too late. She turns away, frustrated and defeated. She says she couldn't protect anyone at all. With a sad look, she whispers that even for a short time, meeting him made her happy. Arata, feeling helpless, promises he'll save her. He lifts her up, holding her hands. Ichika stops him. She tells him to keep getting stronger, to believe in himself. She looks at him, pleading, please, save as many people as you can. Her voice fails before she can finish. Arata screams her name in desperation. Leo watches the chaos unfold just as that creature turns on him. He blocks the massive blow with his fists while Arata grips Ichika's hand. He's watching her so closely, desperate to see if she's still there. The transformation is moving too fast and he's scrambling for a way out. Then she rises, eyes glowing red, a pulse of purple aura around her. She stares him down with this terrifying, cold look. Leo screams from behind, put your feelings aside and take her down. The creature charges and Arata is frozen in shock, heart racing. He flashes back to memories of his friend, dodging at the last second. He yells back that he can't do this. He just can't. Leo gets impatient, lunging to attack, but Arata grabs him, shouting that she's his friend. The hunter snaps, she isn't human anymore, but the boy insists she's still Ichika. Right then, he spots the creature behind Leo, jaws ready to snap shut. Arata yanks him away just in time. They are running out of seconds. He's cycling through every option, thinking back to recent battles. That skill, minion control, it flashes in his mind. He hopes it works, reaching his hand out toward Ichika. A thick cloud of soot erupts, wrapping tightly around her. The system warns him the skill is active, and a seal begins to form. A sphere of energy spins above her, and her aura starts to fade. She drops to her knees as the system chimes, congrats, you captured a wild Ichika. Arata walks up, immediately noticing the energy around her has shifted. The girl only answers with a low, guttural grunt. He knows the transformation was cut short, even as Leo warns him to be cautious. Arata stands tall, explaining he turned Ichika into his minion. Leo is stunned, trying to wrap his head around such a broken ability. He's wondering if she can still be saved, then Ichika suddenly moves. She lunges at a nearby creature, tearing through it with her claws. The beast bites her arm, but Ichika just smiles. Arata explains she can't be transformed again. Then the girl smashes the monster's head, creating a perfect opening. She clears the way for Arata to rush in. With his dark blade, he slices the monster in half. System update. Boss defeated. The rift is cleared, and the scene shifts to the deep blue building. Rage is completely shocked as she listens to the final report. Watching her student now, so different, Leo explains Ichika was already infected. Arata adds that he used minion control, a skill learned from another boss. You can see it in his eyes. He's holding it all together. Ray tries to process the weight of it all, grieving for what Ichika lost. Arata claims it was the only way to keep from losing her entirely. The master looks at the girl, calls her name, and Ichika finally reacts. She speaks the name Ray, and the entire room freezes in shock. Arata asks if she can talk, and Ichika confirms she can. Ray questions who she really is, and Ichika replies, I am a demonic corpse, but not quite. That original consciousness is still buried deep inside, faint, but it is there. The realization leaves everyone silent, while Arata feels a wave of relief. Seeing there might be a way to save her, Leo hesitates, wondering if Dark Ichika can follow simple instructions and avoid attacking people. The girl just stares at him. Arata insists it will not happen. He promises he will not let it. Leo asks for proof, so he looks around, spots a cat, and tells Ichika to play with it. She slowly walks over, pets the creature, and plays gently. Ray watches, deeply emotional. Leo is totally freaked out, but the cat stays calm beside a demonic corpse. He realizes Ichika's true kindness remains, and she does not seem dangerous. Dark Ichika decides to walk toward the three of them, interrupting the moment. Leo backs away, begging her not to get so close. Ray teases him, asking if he is scared of cats. The two younger ones laugh at his reaction. Ray tells Arata to look after the girl while she reports everything to the association. He agrees, and feeling excited, he turns to Ichika and says from now on they will stay together. Ichika lifts the cat's tiny paw, agreeing in such an adorable way, saying they will be together forever. Arata smiles. Far away in another building, a woman studies a complex chart. She sounds alarmed, noting multiple disturbances pointing toward a massive rift. In the association director's office, an employee rushes in to report that signs of a large-scale rift have been detected. Hearing that, the man immediately orders Code 0 to be issued to all guilds. The subordinate confirms and runs out. The director takes a deep breath. 11 years, he mutters, staring at an old photo. It is finally time. Meanwhile, at the Deep Blue Guild, someone announces the director activated Code 0. Ray and Leo are stunned. The scene cuts to a busy city street where a crack opens in the sky, rapidly spreading. People panic, screaming that it looks like the sky is actually falling. It feels like the end of the world as purple spheres emerge from the rift. Along with countless beasts, the crowd starts running in total desperation. Two hunters assess the situation as monsters attack, transforming people one by one. They are quickly surrounded. Then, all of a sudden, a rain of fire falls from the sky, wiping out a bunch of enemies. The Golden Hunters have arrived. Leo realizes how serious this is and orders his subordinates to help evacuate the civilians. He suggests to Ray that they enter the rift, and she replies that it looks exactly like what happened 17 years ago. A rift so massive that nobody knew what was inside. Leo agrees. Nearby, the director himself shows up, accompanied by a woman. He claims this time everything will be different. They won't repeat the mistakes. That zero-limit incident, the woman already moves forward. Stepping into the rift, she just says they'll wrap this up quickly. Not far away, our mysterious friend watches the opening with a sharp grin. He says he's been waiting for this moment as he steps right inside. At the same time, Arata and Dark Ichika tear through the city streets. Carrying out their mission, they have to protect the civilians while moving. Ray and Leo are deep in the rift, attacking non-stop. A mother clutches her child, whispering that it's okay, the hunters are here. Then the rift starts leaking a dark, black aura, and something starts crawling out, swarm after swarm of flying monsters. Arata stares up, completely shocked by the sheer number of them. He admits it's his first time fighting beasts like these. One creature dives straight at the mother and child. Arata launches his suit, hitting the monster square in the head. He realizes his attacks are basically just stalling for time. He reaches them, checking if they're okay. The mother thanks him through tears. Arata looks up and sees hundreds more circling above. Overwhelmed, he wonders what they're even supposed to do now. Arata says he can't reach those monsters from this distance, and Dark Ichigo just agrees. The number of creatures skyrockets, and they begin their assault, blowing up everything in their path. The boy decides he has to fight back. He fires off a barrage of attacks with his suit, but only a handful of creatures actually take the hit. He realizes these mosquito-looking things are moving in turbo mode. A trio of hunters arrives, seeing the disaster and rushing to back him up. Arata is desperate for a solution, eyes locked on the swarm. He knows he has to stop them before they wipe out the city. The destruction keeps spreading until, suddenly, an idea clicks. Standing in front of the beasts, Arata releases a massive cloud of soot. It pours from his whole body, instantly filling the space around him. With a sharp fist, he yells, activating cement mode. The airborne soot starts hardening around the monsters nearby. Locking their wings, he pushes his suit to the limit. Pumping out more soot, he drags the creatures down toward the ground. As they drop, Dark Ichika takes the opening and rushes in. Finishing them all in one go, Arata celebrates. The plan worked. He turns to the next group, ready to boost his power even further. Raising his blade, he cranks the suit's output to the max. With everything he has, he leaps and brings down a heavy strike. It takes out several beasts in one brutal swoop. Bystanders watch from a distance, amazed at this kid's performance. Everyone cheers, relieved that the fight is finally over. The protagonist collapses to the ground, completely exhausted. One of the hunters walks up, thanking him for the incredible work. Arata shakes his hand, then looks toward that massive rift. He's just hoping his allies make it out safely. Then the hunter's phone rings, and he starts yelling in panic. He can't believe the association building is already on fire. That building is the heart of the defense against demonic corpses. It's where the Suwa Guild operates, overseeing everything in the sector, from the ID systems down to the records of every old demonic rift. The control center, the heart sending orders to every single guild. Departments like combat support and media control all run through here. If this place goes down, Japan's entire defense against demonic corpses vanishes. The scene shifts back to the present. The director's subordinate is frantic. He is desperately coordinating hunters, forcing everyone to work in pairs. Bronze hunters guard the main bases while silvers engage the enemy head-on. He raises his hand. With the gold tier hunters gone, the line is thin. He orders everyone to stick together, but then something catches his eye. Panic sets in as he spots several flying monsters closing in fast. A coordinated attack. Right when most of the hunters are spread thin, it is a nightmare scenario unfolding in real time. A guy runs up, breathless, saying the delivery reached the medical center. Kohaku steps up to handle it, telling the subordinate to dig for info. Sprinting toward the center, he can only wonder if his master is safe. He arrives, but the entire building is already swallowed by raging flames. Two massive monsters are waiting, a giant bear and a screeching pterodactyl. The bear lets out a blast of fire, and Kohaku barely dodges it. The pterodactyl beats its wings, fanning the flames directly at the hunter. He screams at the beasts. They cannot just do whatever they want here. He is struggling to process how two demonic corpses could even work together. Then, a voice cuts through the chaos, casually noting the place is on fire. Arata had finally arrived on the scene, looking calm as ever. The boy scans the battlefield and tells the hunter to focus on the monsters. Kohaku snaps back, refusing to take orders from some freelance nobody. But then, he gets a better look at the newcomer. He recognizes Arata, the runaway irregular who ghosted the association. Then he notices the girl beside him, her aura reeking of a demonic corpse. Arata releases his power, and even though To looks genuinely shocked. She starts dousing the flames just as the giant bear charges at Arata. Kohaku acts on pure instinct, turning the charging monster to solid stone. Arata looks at the statue, clearly impressed by that petrification ability. Meanwhile, Little No to dryly remarks on adding another ugly statue to her collection. Kohaku gathers energy, his hands glowing as he reps a stone spear from the ground. He leaps high, smashing the stone bear into pieces with one brutal blow. He yells at Arata he will ignore their beef for now because of the emergency. But later, he warns they are definitely settling the score. Arata just agrees, honestly relieved to finally have it a lie in this mess. The pterodactyl dives straight at Arata, screeching for blood. He focuses the surrounding set into his hands, trying to mimic Kohaku. In a flash, he petrifies the monster midair and slices it clean in half. Kohaku is stunned, watching his own technique get copied after seeing it just once. With the area finally cleared, Arata gives the hunter some genuine credit. He compliments the technique, and Kohaku blushes while finally introducing himself. Still, he immediately pivots to scolding Arata for being so reckless. You can't just throw that kind of power around, he warns. He warns Arata that move drains mana fast and leaves him wide open. Arata looks down, admitting he never considered that while just fighting for his life. They drop the topic, deciding instead where to head next. Meanwhile, not far away, a mysterious figure breaks into the association vault. He raids the stash of divine weapons, laughing at the security. It is a shame everything is in chaos, Goto mutters, eyes locked on a sword. With that classic thug look in his eyes, he reaches out for the blade. Finally, he says, the perfect moment to replace the 5 heavens. He grips the hilt, releasing a wave of power that floods the entire room. Watching the energy surge, he breaks into wild laughter, convinced he is now unbeatable. The scene shifts to a hunter fighting an ogre, leaping through the air. He swings down, taking the beast out like it is nothing at all. Right then, the side quest trio arrives, with the vice leader analyzing the situation. They need to choose which area to prioritize, but Arata is hesitant. Arata notes it is strange so many monsters are here, given there were none before. Something clicks for Kohaku. He touches the ground, focusing intently. Using his power, he senses massive, weird monster activity lurking deep underground. The three start running, with Kohaku snapping at Arata to keep up the pace. Down in the storage room, they find a massive hole and freeze in shock. It hits them all at once. The demonic corpses have been flooding in from here. While everyone was distracted by the rift, monsters slip through the tunnels. Kohaku extends his spear, fusing it with his power, and lunges for the creatures. Arata sees it and readies his own strike, but the vice leader steps in. Hold your breath, he reminds Arata. Make space and let the power flow naturally. Arata closes his eyes, focusing, and finally lets the energy build up inside. He forms his dark blade, focusing the energy with newfound precision. Rapid strikes rain down on the monsters. He is landing every single one. Number 2 watches, genuinely surprised, and offers a rare word of praise, though he remains suspicious of that girl and her mysterious, hidden power. After clearing the area, they push toward the dark, collapsing tunnel ahead. Kohaku gathers a massive amount of energy and obliterates the entrance, sealing it off. He turns to Arata, insisting they need to clear the other areas immediately. Arata asks about other entrances, but Kohaku says this was the most urgent threat. I will check, Arata says, since he has suits spread all over the base. He activates his Wi-Fi mode, scanning the area. There is a massive presence above. The biggest concentration of demons, he adds, is right on the upper floors. Kohaku completely freaks out. That is where the training center is located. When they arrive, all three realize the gravity of the disaster. A full demonic rift has torn open right inside the base headquarters. Kohaku yowls, utterly frustrated, because the chaos masked the rift until now. Suddenly, a mountain of demonic corpses begins pouring out of the rift. The tension spikes as number 2 rushes in, spear blazing, with Arata right behind. They take down enemy after enemy, fighting to hold the line together. The vice leader worries about the rift, but he cannot abandon headquarters. He realizes, with growing dread, that this rift is unlike any other. Since monsters are spilling out, Arata steps up and offers to head into the rift. Kohaku is completely shocked. Why would he go that far, putting his life on the line? But seeing that fire in the boy's eyes, Kohaku smiles. He says he's coming too. He tells the others to take charge of the base while they deal with the nest. As they approach the crack, the whole group starts walking toward the unknown together. They step into a massive hall, and it's packed solid with creepy, silent statues. Kohaku is suspicious. He wonders if this is where those weaklings have been coming from. Meanwhile, Arata can't shake the feeling that someone is pulling the strings behind all this. The vice leader steps up, saying it's his duty to end this fast, with no casualties. The three of them make the call and decide to push deep into the hall. That's when number 2 senses something dark and twisted hanging in the air. The story shifts, showing the Golden Hunters are now split up across 3 locations. Back in the hall, Kohaku thinks it's strange how quiet and empty the place feels. He turns to Arata and asks the big question, what exactly is he fighting for? The kid hesitates for a second, looking a bit lost and discouraged. Seeing that, Kohaku answers firmly, laying his own motivation out on the table. He fights for the association director, Mr. Dagami, who leads them all. As long as Dagami is standing, the hunters can keep facing those demonic corpses. Then he jokes that Arata just isn't as handsome as the director. They both laugh. Kohaku gets serious again, saying they should really see his master in action. He keeps praising the guy, basically calling him an unstoppable force of nature. Dark Ichika, the star of the show, calls him a total weirdo for that. Kohaku says that was rude, and all embarrassed, he changes the subject quickly. He reminds Arata to keep his power flowing steady before they hit the end. They finally reach the far side of the hall, standing right before a gigantic door. They step inside, and something massive slams into the ground in a blind rage. A demonic beast stares them down, its 2 horrifying heads locked onto them. A blinding light flashes from the creature's eyes, stunning them all for a heartbeat. When Koku's vision finally clears up, he's in for a nightmare. He finds his master on the ground, badly hurt. He starts to panic. Arata yells his name, desperate to know what just happened to him. Kohaku had just dropped to his knees when those eyes lit up with darkness. Now Ichika is screaming too, and Arata looks at the beast, suddenly all alone. The light flashes again as he stares down the monster, bracing for the worst. 2 figures appear right in front of him, his brother and his only friend, suffering. As they morph into demonic corpses, they ask why Arata couldn't save them. The boy is absolutely terrified, falling to his knees and crying uncontrollably. The creature watches, satisfied, as Arata starts to drown in his own darkness. But then he snaps awake from the nightmare, eyes sharp and clear. Determined, he stands up, shouting that he still has to bring Ichika back. He puts a hand on his chest, feeling that raw power surging inside him. Thinking of everyone he needs to protect, he looks up and sees a sphere of water. It's forming right there, just like Ichika's own magic. Suddenly, the creature fires a massive blast of energy straight at him. An explosion tears through the air and across appears. Arata is under attack. With soot and water mixed into a makeshift shield, Arata braces against the creature's relentless storm of blows, doing his absolute best to hold the line. He figures he's managed to blend Ichika's power right into his defense. Hand outstretched, he shapes a black sphere while manipulating the water swirling behind him. But watch this shift over to Kohaku mourning his master, just staring down at the lifeless body. Then it hits him. The irregular was fighting completely alone this whole time. Fighting non-stop, swallowing down his despair, Kohaku slams his forehead straight into the dirt, hard, trying to rattle his brain back into focus. He barks out that he's number 2 of the Sua Guild just to remind himself who he is. Eyes locked on the threat, he sizes up the room and realizes four monsters are eyeing him like a snack. Meanwhile, Arata takes blow after blow, every single hit deflecting off his barrier. The beast gets furious, totally pissed it can't crush him. Our guy tries to flank it, only for another demon to blindside him from behind. Claws flashing dangerously close until everything freezes solid in an instant. Dark Ichika materializes, skewering the beast with her own claws and dropping it dead. Arata spins around, calling out to check if Kohaku's holding up all right. Kohaku just tells him to watch closely, flashing a grin behind his heavy stone armor. Then he charges forward, landing a brutal strike that smashes all four monsters at once, triggering a massive explosion that leaves the main character staring in total shock at number 2's raw power. The moving stone keeps up the assault, practically having fun while a monster sneaks up on Arata. He barely dodges out of the way, realizing there's still one more left. The beast lunges, and Arata scrambles backward, struggling desperately to block. Then Kohaku's voice cuts through the chaos, "Sharpen your mana." The kid scrambles to process the advice as the warning lands hard. If you can't do it now, this is your ceiling. Arata slams his eyes shut, cutting out the noise to lock in maximum precision. He snaps his eyes open, watching his volatile power finally refine itself. Instantly, he crafts a blade combining water and soot attributes. He launches forward, gripping his sword with every ounce of strength he has left. One clean, perfect strike pierces clean through the creature, taking it down for good. Completely drained, Arata's first instinct is to check if the others made it. Kohaku watches him with a proud look as the exhausted boy crashes straight to the ground. That was way too close, number 2 mutters, genuinely shocked by how fast the kid is growing. Meanwhile, our gloomy kitty keeps messing around with Arata. Back at headquarters, Kohaku notes how everyone somehow managed to secure the base. But their real test is looking right at them through the window, that massive rift looming over the city, all while wondering how her master is actually holding up out there. Shion complains about her ruined clothes. He fires back that it's what she gets for picking that ridiculous outfit for combat. She huffs, raises her hand, and unleashes a devastating beam of pure light, carving a massive, clear path straight through the thick forest. She hums with satisfaction, pleased with herself, saying they've got a nice comfy trail now. The director just lets out a heavy sigh, his mind drifting back to the Zero Border incident. That outfit, she huffs. Then she holds out her hand and fires a massive beam of light, carving a jagged path straight through the dense forest. She says now they have a nice comfy trail, clearly pleased with herself. The director just sighs, remembering the chaos of that Zero Border incident. 11 years ago, a massive rift tore open and demonic corpses swarmed out, countless lives just gone. Now, he scans the forest. It's way too quiet. Something's wrong. The woman speaks up, her voice sharp. The enemies must be hiding nearby. She looks toward the canopy, realization hitting her. Their long search is finally over. A massive, ancient tree towers over them. The director notes the energy coming from it. That's at least rank Shin. Shin just wants this done and dusted so they can finally head home. Suddenly, two winged, horned demons descend, both disaster-class threats. These aren't just monsters. They're the kind of beings that could wipe a whole country off the map. One demon sneers that they've finally arrived. The other laughs, telling them this is the end of the line for both of them. A swarm of A-class flying creatures encircles the tree at the same time. The entities mock them. They call the silver executors easy prey. They want to see how long these gold ones can actually hold out. A powerful blast of crimson light tears through the air. The director channels his energy, telling them to watch what a real gold executor can do. A blinding flash erupts, leaving the demons stunned. When the light finally fades, the director stands there armored in massive, golden plates. Shin floats midair, gathering a massive sphere of crackling lightning. The Megazord raises its arm, taking that red beam head-on. The energy sphere keeps growing, and those monsters look legitimately terrified by what they're seeing. Furious, they scream for their underlings to swarm and attack all at once. As the waves of attacks close in, Shin offers a slight smile and hurls the colossal sphere. The monsters panic the second they realize there's no way to dodge it. They try to hold the line, but the resulting explosion wipes the entire area clean. With the forest wrecked, the woman assumes the others have finished their jobs too. Somewhere else, Ray and Leo are making quick work of their own pair of monsters. Meanwhile, the femboy obliterates a demonic skeleton, griping about the lack of evidence left behind. Back at headquarters, Kohaku orders her team to secure the perimeter. She gets a sudden call and announces to everyone the director is coming back. The base erupts in cheers, celebrating the news and the end of the crisis. But near headquarters, a shadowy figure suddenly descends from the sky. Everyone looks up, and they are absolutely frozen in terror. It's Goto, and he's powered up, looking like some kind of Super Saiyan. He's floating there, wreathed in lightning and water, flashing that signature, seductive smile. A raw, purple aura wraps around him as the city below starts to burn. Ray gets an urgent alert, strange energy levels spiking right near headquarters. The secretary is still celebrating the master's return, but Ray watches the monitor, pale. He sees Goto on the screen. The staff member confirms they've lost all contact with the Suwa Guild. That's when Ray spots Ichika and Arata. He bolts from the room, praying they can hold out, but the woman warns him she's heading the other way. Meanwhile, the blonde guy starts firing waves of blue energy across the city. Civilians are screaming, running for their lives in total panic. Arata screams at Dark Ichika, "It's time to move. Protect everyone while Kohaku watches." In shock, realizing Goto is holding a divine weapon, he explains that these weapons choose their owner, not the other way around, and adds that the vault shouldn't have opened for someone like Goto. The blonde starts shaking like a power tool, his pupil dilates, and then two black bodies burst out of him as he screams in pain. Arata curses while the goth girl is horrified at how disgusting it is. The things rush in firing blue blasts. The boy shields the civilians, and he, Ichika, and Kohaku destroy the monsters quickly. Goto keeps attacking from the sky, making an icy rainfall. The MC realizes he's hitting his limit. The villain smiles and throws another ice spear. Arata sees how dangerous it is, so he shoves everyone out of the way to protect them. Taking the hit in the back out of mana, he feels his body give out like a phone at 1%. Dark Ichika, injured, mutters that she has to keep protecting them. Our number to surrounded scream because this is your responsibility as vice leader. When everything looks like it's about to fall apart, Rhea shows up on the battlefield. She runs up to them and goes, "All right, guys, playtime's over." Then she notices something. The three of them were exhausted and barely moving, but they managed to evacuate everyone so she could fight without holding back. Leaving them to rest, she heads into the fight. Goto, completely out of control, unleashes a ridiculous amount of power. Then he sees a figure coming in, firing off a bunch of electric blasts. But the figure is way too fast, and in an instant it's right at his neck. Freaked out, he takes a brutal hit to the chest and gets launched away. Ray, totally calm, says his judgment was wrong and that she's not holding back anymore. On the ground, the blonde guy hears her say that out of all the choices he could have made, he chose to abandon his own humanity. He spits a jet of water at her and she just gets even more pissed at the nerve. She releases even more power, water and lightning mixed with pure rage, then a blast of light swallows the whole place. The scene cuts to Shin and Dagami running out of that forest. She asks why Ray is the strongest golden ranker and not him. The director says that's only true when she fights alone without worrying about anyone around her. Since she controls water and lightning at the same time, it turns into total chaos, which is why she ended up walking a lonely path. That's how she became the first irregular known by the association. The battlefield was wrapped in a full-on storm. Kohaku wakes up because of the rain while some green energy heals him, and he sees a massive tornado in front of him, spinning with electricity and water bigger than skyscrapers while everything around it burns up. Above, Ray notices he's awake and immediately looks relieved. Even though he's beat up, he tries to get up and fight, but she orders him to back off, straight-up command, eyes locked. The battlefield was wrapped in a full-on storm. Kohaku finally wakes up to the pouring rain while some green energy heals his wounds. He stares at a massive tornado towering right in front of him. It's spinning with raw electricity and water, taller than any skyscraper. Everything around it burns. Above him, Ray notices he's finally awake. She looks so relieved, even beat up. He tries to stand and fight, but she orders him to back off, eyes locked, a direct command. Ray faces the enemy down and accepts the challenge without a word. She tells him to hold Gato back, ordering him to get the others away. Kohaku looks at them, then carries the pair through the smoking wreckage. He desperately searches for shelter and uses his power to dig right there. He fills the pit with a golden liquid and lowers them deep inside. Far off, Gato keeps defending himself from a non-stop barrage of attacks. Ray watches, bitter regret washing over her for letting this happen. She powers up her aura, screaming that she should have handled this alone. In response, he releases even more raw power, pushing his limits. It forces the human freezer to short-circuit, and ice swords materialize. They fly straight at Ray, but she raises a water shield to block them. As the blades crash into her barrier, a memory flashes before her eyes. She sees her parents from back when she was just a kid, promising to protect their city. She forces her eyes shut to stay focused and raises her arms. Crackling with pure electricity, she hurls lightning into that violent storm. She starts to wrestle control of it, bit by bit. Giving everything she has, she flings the storm at Gato, catching him inside. He screams in agony, caught in a cycle of endless electric shocks. Down below, Kohaku watches the raw power of water and lightning colliding. He can tell it must be tearing her apart, and he worries for her. We see a flash of the pain electricity has caused inside her own body. People used to whisper that her orb was damaged, calling her an irregular. The young man says he can't even imagine how hard her path has been. Ray gathers the lightning spinning around her, focusing it for another strike. She fires it at Gato, and the intensity is honestly terrifying. He screams louder, like a machine going haywire, but she doesn't stop. She keeps on attacking, not giving him a single second to breathe. Controlling every bolt with precision, she keeps him trapped in the cyclone. Kohaku watches, stunned by the sheer brutality of this fight. The blonde guy finally breaks free and leaps high into the air. Ray sees him coming, but she doesn't even flinch as he lunges. He attacks, and she dances around him, getting closer and closer. In a split-second mistake, Ray grabs his hand and halts his momentum. She charges her fist with high-voltage electricity and tells him, "Take it." Gato realizes he's trapped, and a massive shock hits him head-on. He screams as the electricity surges through the water, blasting him away. Ray walks up, genuinely impressed that he can still stand on his own. He gives her that twisted villain smile, the kind that screams zero therapy. It makes her remember her master's death and the guilt she still carries. She always blamed herself whenever people around her got hurt. Ray tries to hold onto her master's final words to stay strong. Then she stares Gato down with cold, hard resolve. She tells him firmly that she is going to end this for both of them. The rain keeps pouring over the battlefield as they face off. Kohaku notices the water around them starting to bubble, and Gato screams Ray's name. Sparks crackle as she raises her arm, warning him he will be frozen in place. Right where he stands once that fierce attack lands fully. Raw energy begins pooling right at the tips of her fingers. Panic hits the blonde guy hard as a massive sphere swells across the sky. Down it comes straight at him while a heavy explosion erupts right in front of Goto. From a distance, Kohaku instantly identifies it as a hydrogen blast. Totally stunned by her terrifying control, she hits the dirt, completely wiped out. No, two rushes over in a panic, but she stands right back up anyway. Then she freezes completely as cheers echo through the air around her. Citizens are chanting her name, celebrating what they think is total victory. Reese sighs with relief, muttering she has done way too much overtime today. But out of nowhere, Goto slips right up behind her without a sound. A cruel blade punches straight through her chest in one brutal strike. Smiling like a maniac, he watches her drop as blood stains the ground. Total silence takes over the crowd while the red pool widens. Lying in the dirt, she curses her own carelessness for letting her guard down. She cries for her master, sobbing that she ended up entirely alone. Goto steps up for the killing blow, acting like the supreme champion. But right at the final second, Dark Ichika intercepts the deadly strike. Reese asks what she is doing, and the girl screams through her tears. Her master was never alone, she yells as the blonde guy shrugs Ichika off. He flings her aside like trash and starts weaving dangerous ice crystals. Regular hunters throw themselves into the line of fire to shield Reese. They are ready to trade their lives right there on the spot. Seeing everyone risk everything for her, Reese begs them to run away. A sudden blast rips through the middle of the clash, blinding everyone. She blacks out, terrified that her friends are going to die because of her. Kohaku scrambles desperately to heal her wounds while screaming for backup. Their apocalypse enemy laughs wildly, hoping every last one of them perishes. Then a streak of purple light tears through the air at terrifying speed. It slams straight into the villain's face, blasting him backward. Before he can even process it, multiple black blades pin Goto midair. Kohaku spots the swords and instantly recognizes the signature suit abilities. Goto sneers that trash like that has no right breathing. Arata fires back by unleashing a massive wave of black soot. Running on fumes, the villain stares down Arata's terrifying red eyes. Veins bulge on Arata's forehead as he yells at the enemy to shut up. Ray panics, realizing Arata has pushed himself way past his absolute limit. He glares at Goto with pure disgust, telling him to watch his power. The main character mutters how a strange voice dragged him into this mess. For a second, he wonders if he somehow stumbled into an isekai plot. A mocking voice snaps back, complaining about getting stuck with a total loser. Arata spots a chained figure on the ground, demanding to know where Rei is. The mysterious entity perks up, realizing someone can finally hear him. Soup Boy tenses up, gripping his blade as he demands answers. He takes a breath, claiming he's Regnus, the one who gave Arata his power. Arata slices him in half without a second thought. That little flame keeps yapping, calling him rude. The rebellious team tells the creature to shut up and haul him out. Regnus gets serious, points at Arata, and demands he not say another word. That sword, that power, it belongs to him. He's the source of it all. He tells Arata to learn his place. He's the long-awaited rebel. The entity claims he's got the strength to crush anyone stealing from others. The boy cuts him in half again. Just like he's hacking through a tough cake, he is clearly annoyed. He doesn't have time for this nonsense, so he grabs him by the chains. Arata yells, "If you gave me this power, then send the premium package already." The being just laughs at the kid's nerve. He says that big baby isn't even around anymore. Then, with a curious look, he asks what happens if he says no. The irregular thinks for a split second. He figures without the guy's help, he'd still be stuck in that cell. The flame steps up, offering just one thing, 1 minute. I can give you 1 minute of my core's power. Back in the present, Arata taps into Regnus's strength. He realizes that energy had been dormant inside him the whole time. 1 minute, he says that's more than enough to deal with him. Goto roars that Arata's appearance doesn't matter and charges in. The half-demon creates several reinforced shields around himself. He draws his sword and strikes with insane, overwhelming force. The impact sends the blonde guy crashing down to his knees. He notices shadowy blades surrounding him, and when they strike, they blow everything apart. Down and crawling, the bad guy growls. He refuses to lose to trash like him. Then he locks eyes with the three closest to him and lunges. Arata calls him pathetic, while our goth girl feels her suit powering up. She forms huge claws and strikes first. Goto is shocked by her ability, but the main character just stares him down with pure contempt. Freaking out, Goto claims he's from a rich conglomerate. He says he'll replace the 5 heavens and become the strongest. Arata answers, disgusted, "You stole an orb, a divine weapon. You're worse than a demon corpse." Rai stares, completely stunned. He's wondering how he's supposed to take down someone like that. Goto grinds his teeth, furious at being insulted by trash. He draws his sword, but blood is already streaming all over his body. Arata reminds him that the orb never chose him. His body can't handle that much power, and he was never really someone to begin with, as the blonde tries to make a run for it. Our supreme horned guy pulls a demon rift out of his pocket. Even number 2 is left with his jaw on the floor. A rift opens right in front of Goto. He watches in horror as Arata teleports instantly to face him. Grabbing him by the neck with a crazed smile, he sweetly asks him not to run away. Then he leans in closer, asking if he isn't even curious what happens when the rift finally closes. Right there, they are face to face, one laughing, the other terrified out of his mind. Rei leaps onto Arata, begging him with everything she has not to go through with it. Crying, she screams that there is no coming back from this point, and her voice makes Arata hesitate. Just for a second. Goto screams as he watches his own arm go flying off like a rocket, pure terror locking his chest. As Arata walks toward him step by step, the boy flashes back to his brother. And right then, his 1 minute runs out, the massive rift incident finally grinding to a halt. The blonde ends up doing a Loki cosplay behind bars, stripping him of all his executive power. In his bed later on, Arata thinks about how Regna still hasn't shown up anywhere. A ton of heavy questions left completely unanswered. But there's still one loose end to tie up. A voice echoes out, calling him Arata Toma. Report to court. Handcuffed tightly, he and his gorgeous goth girl stand before the strict Irregular Conduct Council. The director wastes no time pointing out an irregular with a known power-breaking serious rules and escaping prison. With all that on the table, we're here to decide your fate, he announces. Several association hunters watch the trial play out from the gallery. The director adds that Arata can literally open demon rifts, turning to the room for opinions. Ria is the first to stand, admitting he lost control, but pointing out Goat would have won without him. Leo chimes in, noting Arata dealt with a pile of demon corpses most hunters wouldn't touch. Then the femboy casually suggests someone should just be permanently responsible for keeping an eye on him. Yagami asks Sen if she has anything to add. Distracted and spacing out, she asks why the boy fought the whole time without taking any money at all. That makes the director sigh. Arata speaks up, admitting he lost control and doesn't fully understand his own power, but he doesn't regret a single thing. A man in the audience loses his mind, yelling at how ridiculous that sounds. Angry, he barks that nobody can accept a half-demon corpse walking around. Irregulars like you have caused absolute carnage throughout our history, he yells. Ria grows tense, noticing the conservative faction sitting in the back. Leo mutters that the orb fundamentalists are a massive pain, and even Dagami can't just ignore them. The courtroom instantly devolves into a total shouting match. Things are getting way too out of hand, until a loud voice cuts through the noise, demanding absolute silence. It's the whip guy from the underground prison. The conservatives immediately demand to know what their spokesperson plans to do about this. He looks straight at the director and confesses, yes, he did deal with the leader of Deep Blue. However, he saw it with his own eyes, battered and out of strength. Arata still protected every single civilian. If that isn't the true heart of an executor, then what is? Turning his gaze to the hostile hunter from earlier, he raises his voice. When Goto brought absolute chaos to the streets, where the hell were you? The hunter tries to protest, but the interrogator shuts him down cold. If anyone deserves to be punished here, it's us. We treated Goto like a god and abandoned our posts. One by one, several hunters stand up to defend Arata, talking about his raw courage and how he risked everything. They talk about Arata, how he risked his life and showed real guts. A girl speaks up for him, says he's a true hunter who fought hard to save the headquarters. The director calls for calm, accepts the general ruling, and turns to the jury for any final objections. He locks eyes with Arata and officially declares the association grants him bronze rank executor status. Assigned straight to the Deep Blue Guild, a massive relief wash over Rei as she stands nearby. The interrogator explains he did it all to save his sister and because he despises owing anyone favors. The big guy adds a warning, keep protecting people, or you will wind up right back in this seat. The crowd erupts into cheers and celebration while Arata puts on a masterclass in playing deadpan. The director shifts gears to punishing corrupt hunters, which might spell trouble for Rei and Leo down the road. Our main character finally walks the open streets, tasting freedom for the very first time. He examines his new executive certificate, figuring the pay is decent enough even if he didn't care at first. But then he opens his mailbox, spots a mountain of overdue bills, and changes his mind instantly. Right as he's mapping out his next move, someone grabs him from behind out of nowhere. A woman wraps her arms around him, calls him her dear little lab rat, and says she waited ages. Arata shoves her away in disgust and demands to know who the hell she is. She lunges, grabs him by the throat, and asks if he would mind letting her dissect him. Practically starving for a test subject, she watches black soot spark from his palms. The dark energy forces her back, making her throw up a barrier to shield herself in a hurry. She starts praising his muscle structure and veins while drool drips from her chin. Pulling out a fistful of terrifying needles, she gasps that she cannot hold back another second. She leaps straight at him. Arata panics, ready for the worst, before a cloud freezes her midair. Rei drops in casually, saying he figured something like this was bound to happen. Hanging upside down, the woman asks if the director forgot to brief her on the schedule. Annoyed, she mutters she was only supposed to carve him up tomorrow inside the proper lab. Arata demands an introduction, and she cheerfully introduces herself as Maki Kaiho, head of research. The next day at the institute, the crazy scientist and the one-horned guy glare across the room. Maki's eyes widen in absolute shock as she hears about the rifts and the entity known as Regnus. She leans in close, asking how his body feels, while Arata shifts uncomfortably under her gaze. Before he can answer, a cluster of mechanical arms snaps onto his limbs with a sharp click. They haul him up into the air and strap him tight to a steel frame. He knows he is screwed. She starts drooling all over again, and Arata stares back, frantically calculating an escape route. A cold robotic voice cuts through the tension, announcing the start of a virtual autopsy scan. Rek comments that while she is clearly unhinged, her technical skills are on a completely different level. Maki tracks streams of data flooding her screens with literal stars shining in her eyes. Arata, meanwhile, hangs there in pure, unfiltered terror as the machinery hums around him. She explains he is built different from standard executors. His cells carry traits from demonic corpses. Arata bursts his bindings, crashing free, admitting he can actually feel something dormant stirring inside. Maki turns dead serious, warning that his mutated frame might hold the exact key to opening the demon realm. He glitches out for a second, and she snaps at him, asking if he even understands what a demonic rift is. He catches his breath and replies simply that it's a tear where evil souls crawl out into the world. Stars in her eyes, but Arata. He's terrified. She explains the truth. He's not like other executors. His body carries traits from demonic corpses. Arata breaks free. He admits he feels something dark sleeping inside him. Maki gets serious. His own body might be the key to opening the demon realm. Arata glitches out. She asks him, "Do you even know what a demonic rift is?" He says it is a hole where evil souls crawl out into the world. It only vanishes once the boss is down. She agrees. Like a time-limited dungeon, she explains. But there's more. There are ancient-looking structures, beings that actually speak our language. Even organized groups. In short, they have their own world, the demon realm. The rifts are just pathways. She's got a theory. There has to be a way to travel through a rift directly. Arata realizes his own abilities might just bridge that gap. Maki adds one final, chilling thought. While analyzing him, she found traces of someone else buried deep inside. Arata wonders if it's Regnus, or maybe someone else entirely. She warns him to be careful. No one has ever tried this before. Going to the demon realm, it's uncharted territory. Arata is determined. He knows the risks, but standing still won't change a thing. That crazy girl tells him to chill. He says he's got a plan. He just needs to force Regnus to spill the truth, staring at his blade. If the guy needs him, he can't just snap him out of existence, right? He turns to her, asking if she can handle medical and surgical work. She says yes, and Arata pulls the most unromantic move possible. A loud burp, Regnus appears in his mind, calling him an absolute idiot. Still giving him the silent treatment, Arata presses on. He asks if the spirit actually wants to visit the demon realm. The main character claims it'd be best for them both. Regnus is furious. You're weak, he sneers. There are things you need to handle first. He's bound by restrictions, unable to say another word. Arata draws his steel. Sick of the vague games, he lunges. The purple flame just laughs. Amused by the kid's nerve, he decides to play along. Arata watches in shock. Regnus raises a single finger. A massive wave of power begins to swirl. Everything floods with dark, swirling soot. This is all he can manage. He mocks. He laughs, shouting, "If you were serious before, prove it right here." Caught in the center of that purple energy, Arata strains against the pressure. He yells that Regnus is a complete pain in the ass. With a devilish grin, the entity agrees. Yeah, these restrictions are a nightmare. He demands the boy show his own strength. Arata leaps high. Blade held tight, he screams for the spirit to just spit it out. Regnus starts talking about the kingdom, but suddenly, chains snap into place. Wrapping tight around his neck, Suit Boy stands there, stunned. He watches as the talking flame explains the situation. If you really want the truth, you have to break that restriction yourself. Arata fires a wave of soot, but the attack bounces off. It just hits that evil energy barrier. Regnus mocks him. Is that an attack or a sneeze? I can't even hold back. Boom. Another restriction. The kid is tired of this stalling. He asks how pathetic he is. Regnus just bursts out laughing, rising up into the air. Show me everything you've got, he commands, or you're dying right here. A rain of attacks rains down, slamming Arata hard in the back. The entity sounds disappointed it waited way too long for him to listen. Arata is panting hard, shouting that this is nothing compared to what his brother endured. Regna just smiles, summoning a swarm of blades behind him. That is more like it, he sneers. He hurls them at the main character, screaming that in the end, only such should remain. The purple flame watches in surprise. The kid is still standing, enduring the onslaught while guiding lightning with his bare hand. Arata declares, if it is the same power, then I can control it too. He manifests a cluster of lightning-wrapped weapons and launches them straight at the entity. Regna is taken aback, but he laughs, claiming he can do the same thing, only better. Massive blades materialize around him. They smash Arata's weapons and surge toward the kid, who instantly raises a reinforced shield. Some of those blades pierce right through, catching him on edge. The being laughs, mocking him for relying on borrowed power. Our hero ignores the taunts, gathering soot around him to form a gigantic dark sword. Regna sounds unimpressed. All you do is use my soot. Is this your final move? Arata charges forward, blending perfectly into the thick soot cloud. Regna scoffs, calling it a pathetic attempt to make him drop his guard. Countless blades surround the entity, but the flame remains unfazed. It boasts that no matter how many weapons he makes, it can control them just as easily. But suddenly, Arata appears from behind, right inside the soot. He almost lands a clean hit, the steel edge dangerously close to the entity's neck. The suit bearer blocks the strike, visibly annoyed, and starts dispersing all that raw power. Yet the blade doesn't vanish. It was made of solid ice. Arata slices through the chains binding the entity, leaving it completely speechless. He reveals he knew Regna would never be able to control water. Regna lets out a manic laugh, genuinely impressed he fell for such a clever trick. The boy stares in shock as his own hand begins to warp into something demonic. Regna tells him to take the power and get stronger. The rest is up to him. Back in the real world, Arata lies stuck in bed. Ray and Maki watch over him, guessing he is still locked in that weird space. Then the kid starts twitching and bolts upright like he just got a shock. Ray calls out to him, and he insists he is fine. The wounds do not even hurt. But his master cuts him off with a sharp, stinging slap across the face. Maki is stunned, and Arata just freezes in total confusion. Ray is emotional, warning him to never pull a stunt like that again. Ichika could have died. Arata apologizes, sounding genuinely regretful. She doubles down, "Never scare us like that again. You are part of my guild." Seeing how much she cares, he just nods, though his face starts to twitch with pain. Sharp shocks run through him, and she tells him that slap was no normal hit. He takes a deep, shaky breath and drops the bomb. "I know how to get to the Demon Kingdom." Sometime later, we cut to an intense, high-stakes battle. The director, the femboy, and Shin are all attacking Arata at once. With his red eyes burning, he is dead set on reaching that Demon Kingdom. But first, we have to jump back 3 hours to see how this meeting went down. As the big guy lays out the intel on the Demon Kingdom, Leo cuts in. He wants to know if this is actually legit. Why would Regna spill all that? Arata admits the entity didn't lie, but he's just as lost as the rest of them. Ray agrees, while the guy with the earrings asks how they'd even get to that realm. The master stiffens up the second Arata reveals his demon claw. He explains the only way in. You have to crush the boss of an S-class rift. Then you create a whole new rift inside it and cross the threshold. Everyone is floored, staring at the rift swirling in his hand. Our fanboy is absolutely hooked. The director just repeats S-class in total disbelief. Shin chimes in, if an A-class rift is an army, an S-class is a walking disaster. Leo faceplants, groaning that even with the method, it is basically suicide. Arata starts to stand, but Leo shuts him down. He's way too weak for an S-class. Togami breaks it down. Protocol demands at least 2 gold hunters for an S-class event, and the survival rate for anyone else, 0. But Arata is locked in. He's going to the Demon Kingdom, period. Living in constant fear of these rifts, just praying things get better. It's pointless. The director gives a nod. Getting to that kingdom would be the Executor's first real offensive strike. But there is still that massive hurdle. Arata needs a power spike, so Shin suggests the minute of death test. She even offers to be his sparring partner. Ray looks stunned by the suggestion, while Leo thinks it should be mandatory. Arata is sweating bullets, having 0 clue what that test even is. Togami explains it's a brutal trial. Face 3 volunteers who outrank you for 60 seconds. The master is clearly worried for her teammate. But the big guy knows we don't control when an S-class rift opens, so time is a luxury we don't have. Our lead agrees, looking dead serious. Then, a beam of light just rips the scene apart. Back to the present, and Arata hits the floor hard. Shin asks if he's still breathing. Our fanboy is low-key impressed. 10 seconds in the trial. That's actually something to brag about. Cut to the deep blue building. Ray, dressed for combat, cracks her knuckles and says the real grind starts now. Arata is hyped, and the goth girl is practically purring with excitement. She breaks it down for them. Mastering skills is all about imagination. It has to be clear, sharp, precise. She tells them to picture a whoosh, leaving them both looking totally confused. Then she points to the wall and orders them to run a basic skill. 10,000 reps, find the whoosh, and you will finally feel the hoop. They just keep launching strikes, having no idea what she's getting at. Hours pass and they are wrapped, but Ray just demands 20,000 more. They're stunned, but she pushes. The real breakthrough only happens when you think you are done. More hours pass, and they are basically rotting on the ground. Suddenly, a jet of water explodes toward them. He reacts on pure instinct, scattering the blast into thin air just in time. He's shocked. He actually managed to fire off the skill. Ray steps into view, flashing a smile at the first sign of real success. And it is exactly the kind of thing that decides who lives and who dies. Now training starts over at the Sheen Guild. Leo cracks his knuckles and makes an announcement. Today is all about pressure. How much can you handle? They both freeze. Leo doesn't give them a second to breathe. He says training starts now. His underlings light a ring of torches all around the room. Leo declares that even with violent flames and that suffocating heat, they need to keep absolute focus. He smacks the chalkboard hard. He tells them to absorb the basics. This is what a real hunter is. Fireboy puts on his glasses and breaks down the goal. Stay cool and analyze, even in extreme situations. Arata complains about the heat. While he struggles to read, the teacher hurls a piece of chalk right at the kid. He yells at him to never complain again. Then he tells him to focus. Even with his blood boiling, hours later, Arata is completely exhausted. Leo says he is done teaching. He can finally think under extreme conditions and seriously high heat. The day before the test arrives, Arata trains alone in the forest, panting. He says that is all he can do. But a shadowy figure is watching him from a distance the whole time. At the test, Cheyenne, Togami, and Femboy gather as Leo and Ray watch. The director warns him if he fails this time, he won't be allowed to go with them into the S-Class Rift. The timer starts. Arata charges in, determined. He thinks he will last longer in the fight. He creates a cloud of soot because in chaotic, low visibility battles, avoiding friendly fire is everything. Femboy throws on attack, but realizes too late he had been completely immobilized. Togami sees Arata flank and fires a rain of lightning. Arata dodges like crazy, recognizing the exact same attack pattern as before. The director, down on one knee, is impressed by how fast the kid adapts. Sean predicts his movement midair and launches a heavy hit. An explosion goes off, and the target breaks apart into nothing but dust. She is shocked. He made a decoy that fast. Arata jumps up, gathers soot in his hand, and fires a blast right at all three. Femboy thinks the kid had a nice moment, but this is where it ends. Then he unleashes a series of wind strikes that explode on impact. From a distance, Leo comments that making it to 40 seconds is huge progress. The three regroup, saying he messed up by leaving himself no escape routes. But then they notice a rift had opened and he was behind them, tired. Holding his transformed arm, he remembers all the training, finally realizing he pushed way past his limits, but the three rushed in to end him, no mercy. Then the main character just smiled, because right there, another rift tore open. They watched, honestly impressed, seeing just how much he evolved during the fight. Explosions started popping off everywhere. The scene turned into pure chaos. Leo told us 10 minutes had already passed, while Ree looked on. She said she'd never seen those three so happy, but after 32 minutes, Arata finally collapsed. He hit the ground, completely drained, and the three watched him with pure admiration. That was a blast, he says, raising his fist high. Smiling like an older sister, Shin warns him not to get cocky. She tells him to stay sharp. Femboy glances over Arata's shoulder. Something's there. The creature leaps into the air, letting out a raw, animal-like scream. The tiny thing waddles up to Arata and just starts cuddling up to him. Everyone's lost, wondering what the hell his ability did this time. Later at the research institute, Maki examines the newborn creature, explaining it was leftover residue from before. Arata says it somehow makes him feel calm. The scientist notes that since it was just born, he really should give her a name. The boy thinks for a moment, looking at the little thing, and settles on Piggy since that's all she knew how to yell. After saying bye to Maki, Ray suggests a spot to hang out. She drags them to a barbecue again. Arata wonders why everyone's there. Leo explains they're celebrating and need to settle something important. Shin tells him to get lost. As he starts juggling, Shin takes her chance. She steps closer, asking if he wouldn't rather stay with Big Sis in the rift. Ray cuts in, pulls her away, and snaps that she's way too old to be calling herself Big Sis. Shin fires back, reminding Ray she was clinging to him in public. Leo notices the real sparks flying and tells them both to knock it off. Togami finished his drink, slams it down, and grabs everyone's attention. He says if an S-class demon rift appears, they need to decide who goes because of protocol and Arata's abilities. Only one person should join him. Femboy, looking dangerous, says. Arata has to choose. Meanwhile, Ichika sneaks in and steals Arata's food. Shin gives a flirty look, saying Big Sis will protect him. Leo reminds them he was the first to fight. Alongside him, Femboy adds he saw Arata's potential first. Togami says he wouldn't mind diving into a rift that huge. Ray closes her eyes, saying she already knows who Arata will pick. Everyone stares at him, making the guy feel super uncomfortable. He takes a deep breath, says he gets it, and that he'll choose outside the restaurant, saying their goodbyes. Arata mentions feeling like part of the executors and thanks Ray for inviting him. She says everyone was just curious, and that's how it goes. He admits he's happy. It feels like being part of a family. For ages, his brother was his only ally. Now he needs to get stronger too. Protect the people who matter. Ray is clearly touched. Then Arata asks if that isn't the complete opposite direction from her house. The master gets embarrassed, admitting she's actually terrible with directions. They laugh it off and head their separate ways. After he passed the test, everyone just waited for an S-class rift to show up. They all went back to their daily routines, but a sinister shadow waits. Moving through the depths of the association prison, Goto stares at a mysterious being emerging from a rift as it steps closer. He's terrified, paralyzed, because he recognizes that face. Months pass. A woman announces an S-class rift has been detected in Shintani Block 6. Dogami calls Arata, saying the day has finally arrived and he's counting on him. Near the rift, someone walks up to the boy and says, so it finally showed up. They tell him to make damn sure he doesn't die in there. And suddenly, we realize the boy was chosen as his official attack partner. This is where the story pauses for now. Stay tuned for the next part. Catch you all in the next upload right here on the channel.